It's time to watch some more anime, I think. And that's what I've been doing this whole week. Watching lots and lots of new anime. Some of it has been good, some of it has been bad. I'm going to let you know what I think of the next 4 episodes today as well. Let me know in the comments what you think of them. And tell me why I'm wrong about some anime. Because I want to know what you think as well. Because this is a 2022 summer anime preview. From a different perspective. Last episode I was talking about anime really digging down into the fan service recently, especially with fantasy, magic and isekai type shows. But welcome to Vermeil in Gold, an anime about a young kid who is about to fail his first year of magic school because he can't summon a familiar. And he does so. He summons a succubi who is super powerful, super big breasted, super seductress, and it pretty much plays out as you'd expect a young adolescent boy summoning a succubus would go. Lots of blushing, panic, a tsundere friend who really does not like him at all, honest, and her trying to become his unlimited blade works. Now the premise of Vermeil in Gold rings a bell. That's because it has been done before, and I know a lot of people aren't a fan of this series, but I'll say Familiar of Zero did it better. Saito is a much more interesting summoned character than this big-breasted demon, and Louise, despite her faults, is a much more interesting and passionate, is a much more interesting and frankly entertaining main character. Louise had a personality even if she was a bit whip-happy. Alto does not. He's just a pile of adolescent hormones. He wants to get out of his little body, and Vermeil really wants to help him get the hormones out of his body, if you get my drift. He even has a duel with his friend Lila, who isn't in no way in love with him. I mean, to be fair, Vermeil does point that out to him at the end of our first episode, but his friend does really like him, and he's saying, oh no, she's always been like that. She's a bit prickly, but she's fine. Yeah, she's prickly for a reason, mate. She also wants to become your unlimited blade works. This one is not a show I would recommend to pretty much anyone, really. I mean, if you want porn, go and watch porn. There are better fantasy magic shows than this one. If you want to watch an anime about a loser getting a powerful familiar, watch Familiar of Zero. It's a better anime. It's all out, and Louise is cute. If you are interested in watching Vermeil in Gold, you can find it airing over at High Dive. No, people, do not adjust your sets. For one thing, I hope you're not watching this on an old school TV you've got to tune in case, why the hell are you doing that? But secondly, no, we're not in 2002. This is indeed 2022, 20 years later, and this is indeed Tokyo Mew Mew. But not Tokyo Mew Mew, it's Tokyo Mew Mew New, a remake of the original Tokyo Mew Mew anime series, in order to celebrate the 65th anniversary of the first issue of Nakayoshi, the magazine which Tokyo Mew Mew first published in. Now, if you haven't been an anime fan for 20 years, or you've never heard of Tokyo Mew Mew, then that's a shame. It's one of the classic magical girl shows of its generation. It's an anime about red data animals, or animals in danger of extinction, and magical girls fighting with the powers of those animals in order to save a planet from some aliens who want to destroy a planet by using pollution and bad stuff for planet. It's only 20 years ahead of its time, basically. All the stuff which the climate processes are going on about now, the animals being in danger of being extinct, above people polluting the planet. This anime was teaching kids about it 20 years ago, and yet 20 years later we're still having the same problems. But I'm not here to talk about politics much. I'm here to talk about Tokyo Mew Mew. Now, I don't think it ever actually got an official release in the West of the anime. I think I watched it through other means at one point. But it did get a release cut as Mew Mew Power. I think it was released by 4Kids at one point. And it actually had on UK TV, believe it or not, which is frankly surprising. But this is going back to the original Tokyo Mew Mew and our main character, Ichigo Momoya. And with the power of a Remote Wildcat, is able to transform into Mew Ichigo, the leader of a group of magical girls who form the Mew Project. And yes, that is Mew as in the character Mew, not the word Mew. And yes, that does technically mean the magical girls in this show are actually just Mews. They get there, what, 10-15 years earlier than Love Live? These are the original Mews, people. They're not idols, they're magical girls who work in a cafe. If you watch the original Tokyo Mew Mew and don't want to watch it again, probably skip this one, because this one is very much sticking to a format of a full remake. But it's launching right into the nuts and bolts of the entire operation, fighting off chimera animals and getting friendly with the other Mews. If you never saw the original, this one will do as a very fine alternative. Maybe watch both. Watch the old one and this one to see which one you like best. If you're not interested in magical girl shows, you can probably just skip right over this one. In fact, you probably also skip this bit anyway, so I don't know why I'm saying it. But this is one which I will definitely be keeping up with myself. I did enjoy Tokyo Mew Mew. I'm not exactly the target audience for Tokyo Mew Mew, but the nostalgia is definitely there for me with Tokyo Mew Mew New. The catchphrases are the same, the poses are the same. The first story is pretty much the same story as the first one, just slightly hastened up in places. And even in the opening credits, there's actually a big nod to the original opening. And I will miss the original opening, because My Sweetheart is one of the classic magical girl openings of all time, in my opinion. I mean, it's right up there with the Sailor Moon opening. In fact, me thinking about it now, it's stuck in my head again. Bloody, I've just got it out of my head. If you are interested in watching Tokyo Mew Mew New, you can find it airing over at High Dive. Next up is an anime which you really should not dismiss purely based on its name. Next up is My Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex. And don't skip that skip button just bear with me. Listen, Stepmom's Daughter is My Ex is about a pair of kids who've just started high school, Yume and Mizuto, who used to date. They're both big bookworms, spent all their time in the library, and so when they met each other in middle school, they hit it off, and they became boyfriend and girlfriend. Something happened at the end of high school, end of middle school, which we'll probably go into later on in the series, but they end up breaking up and hating each other's guts because of it. In fact, they both tried to apply for a different school than the obvious school to go to, because they didn't want to worry about going to the same high school as their ex. Of course, in doing that, they both chose to go to the same high school to try and avoid each other, which was kind of defeating the point, really. And unbeknownst to them, not only did they find each other attractive initially, their parents also found each other attractive, and Yume's mum ended up marrying and moving in with Mizuto's dad. Thus they became step-siblings. Step-siblings who used to be in a relationship with each other. Yeah, this isn't going to be awkward, is it? It's basically a story about two characters which really hate each other's guts, forced together as siblings, going to school, and they don't really want to acknowledge each other's existence. I mean, I've actually been reading the light novel, which is why I'm willing to stick with this one, despite the name of it. And every single chapter starts off with a phrase like, "I once made a terrible mistake," and it sort of goes back and forward between Yume's perspective and Mizuto's perspective, and their own personal thoughts about what's going on. Quite often you get the same bit played from both angles, but I'm sure the anime is going to be playing a lot more straightforward, not playing the same thing over and over again. Now, unfortunately, the anime doesn't really introduce us to the other characters we're going to go along the lines with. I mean, we've seen the ending, but the other characters are really what make this show for me. I mean, Yume and Mizuto are fun, but it's the other characters which are worth watching, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people will be turned off quite heavily by the premise, and the first episode doesn't really portray it in the best light either. You got these people who clearly hate each other's guts, but are having secret rendezvous, talking about how they hate each other and how they will determine who is the elder sibling. You see, they've got a big problem. They're both as immature as each other, and they want to know who's a big sister, who's a little sister, who's a big brother, who's a little brother. I want to know who's older. Now, officially, Yume is the older sister. I'm just going to say that straight out there. She's the older sister. I mean, you might be thinking, okay, that makes perfect sense. I mean, why would that be an argument? They share a birthday. They were both born on the same date. They were both born just after 11 o'clock in the morning. However, Yume was born about 30 minutes before Mizuto was. So, yeah, Yume is technically the big sister, but as Mizuto says, in historic Japan, in a set of twins, it's the one born second who's considered elder. Why? I have no idea. Why that matters when we're not actual twins or siblings, who knows? But that's his argument. and they basically keep arguing about it for the entire episode. But they've gone through dramatic changes as well, because back in middle school, they were both geeks, nerds, dorks. I mean, don't get me wrong, Yume looked really, really cute with her twin braided twin tails and glasses. But she's entirely had an entire high school glow up, and she's now as stylish as you get. Mizuto has also dropped his kind of geeky persona. I mean, he's still just a normal guy, but he's no longer just a nerd anymore. Now, My Stepsister Is My Ex is not going to be an anime for everyone. The premise will immediately turn a lot of people off, but I bid you give it a few more episodes, give it a chance. This one comes recommended from a light novel reader. It gets better. It never quite gets rid of that feeling, but it's watchable because the characters are interesting and the storylines are interesting. It's not as ick as you might think it is. But if you are interested in watching, you can find it on Crunchyroll. Smile of the Arsnnotoria is an anime which didn't leave a huge impression on me as I watched it. I mean, there was two main takeaways I had from it, and I'll get to those in a moment. They weren't so much about the storyline, it was just things I noticed because I'm British. It's an anime about 5 girls of their daily life as they strive to be magical ladies, talking around and talking about things and having tea and scones, and just talking about magic and their powers. I mean, each of these girls are interesting, don't get me wrong. You've got the one character, again, I'm not going to say names because I can't remember any of them, except the silver-haired one, which is Arsnnotoria, who's probably the main character. But I remember you got the black-haired one who's always tired and is basically a toonie. You got a silver-haired one which is cute, tiny, shy, and unsure of herself, and has a prehensile thing on top of her head. You've got Pika, who is blonde or Josama, headstrong, cute. You've got Abra, who does not want to be called Abra, who is a cool blue-haired beauty, the tallest out of a bunch of them, and very much the pristine lady. And you've got Mel, a green-haired character who's energetic. That's all I really know. There appears to be some dark stuff going on in the background, which may get to the end of the episode, which I don't really talk too much about. But I'll be honest, the only thing I remember of the episode is them eating tea and scones, and the controversial subjects they raise. This will be enough to put Twitter into a huge storm of controversy if there was a British person talking about this sort of stuff. You see, one of the things they talk about is tea, and should you put the milk in before or after you put the tea in? But a lot of people have really powerful, really strong opinions on the matter. But that pales in comparison to what we're talking about next. They talked about scones. Now, ignoring the fact they're putting marmalade on their scones, which marmalade and scones, I can understand it. I mean, it makes sense to me, but it's not what you'd expect to have scones in the UK. It's scones, clotted cream, and strawberry jam. And a big controversy, and they do discuss both assets, is do you put the jam on first and then the clotted cream, or do you put the clotted cream on first and then put jam on top of the cream? Now they say, oh no, it's fine, you just put the lid back on with scone and it's fine. That's not how you eat scones. You break the scone in half and you put cream and jam on both halves. That way you get twice as much jam and cream. You don't sandwich, it's not a sandwich, it's... I'm supposed to be reviewing anime, not clotted cream on scones. Anyway, I'm trying to distract from this anime since I can't actually remember that much about it. It's cute, there's not much going on here. It's entertaining enough, I'll probably watch every episode of it if I can. But it's probably not one I'm going to stick to unless the weird stuff at the end and dark stuff really bites down into a storyline. Because at the moment it's cute girls doing controversial British things. Not really much of entertainment there, but it's not my type of show anyway. If you are interested in watching the show, you can find it airing over at Crunchyroll. That was Vermeil in Gold, Tokyo Mew Mew New, My Stepmom's Daughter Is My Ex, and Smile of the Arsnnotoria the Animation. 4 new shows airing this season in anime. What do you think? Let me know, and join me next time. Until then, bye bye.